Look at the Blood Angels. They're the Imperium's most luminous defenders. Clad in mastercrafted armor, blessed with angelic visages, they are patrons of art, philosophy, and unwavering nobility. They are the ideal, the very manifestation of the Emperor's dream for humanity. But look closer. Beneath that pristine, golden surface beats a heart consumed by an ancient, inescapable madness. What happens when the noblest of warriors are chained to a genetic nightmare? What happens when an angel falls? Not to the whispers of chaos, but to an ancestral grief so profound it shatters their very mind. Today, we are tearing away the gilded facade of the X-Legion. We are descending into the darkest, most carefully guarded secret of the Blood Angels and their revered successor chapters. This is not a tale of triumphant heroism. This is a forensic examination of a doomed lineage. We are going to decode the horrifying reality of the Black Rage, a psychological and spiritual affliction that transforms the finest paragons of humanity into screaming, blood-mad beasts. Before we step into the shadowed halls of the Death Company and witness the agonizing psychic echoes of a dead Primarch, ensure your own sanity is watered. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and fortify your mind. The lore of Warhammer 40K is unforgiving, and the grim truths we uncover here today will permanently alter how you view the Imperium's golden suns. You have been warned. Consider this paradox. To be a space marine is to be an absolute master of one's own physiology and psychology. They are psycho-indoctrinated to know no fear, to process unfathomable trauma as cold data, and to remain resolute in the face of cosmic horrors. Yet, for the sons of Sanguinius, their greatest enemy is not the tyrannid swarm or the insidious temptations of the war. Their ultimate adversary is coded directly into their own DNA. It is a ticking clock, counting down to a moment of catastrophic mental rupture. It is a curse that respects neither rank nor valor, nor centuries of loyal service. From the newest initiate to the most venerated chapter master, the shadow of the Black Rage looms over every waking moment. It is a terrifying inevitability. To truly understand the Blood Angels, you must first understand that every act of heroism they perform is a desperate, fleeting rebellion against the madness that will ultimately claim them. But where does this terrifying psychological collapse originate? To find the answer, we must look back to the darkest hour in human history. To comprehend the magnitude of this curse, you must cast your mind back 10 millennia, to the ash-choked skies of terror. The Horus heresy has reached its apocalyptic climax. The Emperor's palace is under siege, and high above the burning throne world hangs the vengeful spirit, the flagship of the arch-traitor. It is here that Sanguinius, the great angel, the most beloved of all the Emperor's sons, steps into the dark to face his brother Horus. He knows he is walking into his own demise. Understand this. The battle between Sanguinius and Horus was not merely a clash of weapons. It was a cataclysmic collision of souls. Horus, swollen with the limitless power of the four Chaos Gods, did not simply kill Sanguinius. He subjected him to physical and psychic torment of such unfathomable cruelty that it broke the boundaries of reality itself. Sanguinius endured agony that would have instantly vaporized a mortal mind, fighting to the last drop of his divine blood. As the life was finally crushed from the angel, a psychic death scream ripped through the immaterial. This was not a sound. It was a shockwave of pure, unadulterated suffering. Because of the profound psychic bond shared between a Primarch and his genetic sons, every single Blood Angel felt it. Across the galaxy, warriors in crimson armor dropped to their knees, their minds saturated with the dying agony of their father. It was a trauma so absolute, it permanently scarred their genetic legacy. But the roots of this nightmare actually stretch back slightly further, to the demon-haunted world of Cygnus Prime. It was here, fighting the greater demon Commander, that the latent flaw in the Blood Angel gene seed was first maliciously exploited. Sanguinius himself was broken in that battle, his psychic agony triggering the first instances of uncontrollable bloodlust in his legion. Cygnus primed the genetic explosive, but it was the murder of Sanguinius aboard the vengeful spirit that finally detonated it. This echo of terror is not a memory fading with time. It is perfectly preserved within the chapter's gene seed. When a new recruit is implanted with the organ known as the homophagia, they are not just receiving enhanced biology. They are inheriting the exact psychic imprint of Sanguinius's final, agonizing moments. The grief, the betrayal, the overwhelming despair it is passed down, generation after generation, an unbroken chain of suffering encoded into their very flesh, and it is a burden shared by all of the Blood Angel's successor chapters. The flesh tears, the Knights of Blood, the angels in common, no matter how far they stray from the traditions of Baal. They cannot outrun their own blood. The echo of the vengeful spirit rings just as loudly in their minds. For 10,000 years, they have fought a war on two fronts. One against the enemies of mankind, and one against the ancestral ghost screaming in their heads. So, consider the reality of their existence. Every blood angel is born with a time bomb ticking in their soul. They train, they pray, they meditate, building mental fortresses to keep the shadow at bay. But the shadow is always waiting. A moment of intense stress, a grievous vow, or simply the sheer weight of centuries can crack the fortress walls. And when that happens, the illusion of reality is shattered forever. Let us strip away the battlefield glorification and examine the clinical, horrifying reality of the onset. The descent into the black rage is rarely instantaneous. It begins as a whisper, a phantom ache in the temples, a sudden spike in adrenaline that refuses to subside. The warrior's hyper-engineered physiology, designed to compartmentalize pain, suddenly becomes a cage the twin hearts beat out of sync. The homophagia, usually dormant unless triggered by the consumption of flesh, begins to actively flood the brain with biochemical memories. The first true symptom is sensory dislocation. The Astartes might look out across a ruined hive city, but the ash tastes distinctly of the arid dust of terror. The screech of incoming artillery is momentarily replaced by the booming, tyrannical voice of the War Master. The psycho-indoctrination routines, the litanies of focus meant to ground them, shatter like cheap glass against the tidal wave of genetic trauma. They are losing their grip on the present, slipping into an abyss of the past. To truly grasp this nightmare, you must cast aside your objective observation. Step into the ceramite boots of a Blood Angel veteran whose mind is fracturing on the front lines. Imagine the terrifying shift. You are breathing heavily. You are bold, hot in your grip, aiming down the sights at a tyrant monstrosity. But blink, and the creature's chitinous armor morphs into the sea-green plate of the sons of Horus. The Xeno screech distorts, becoming the traitorous war cries of the lunar wolves. The comms bead in your ear, broadcasting tactical data from your sergeant, dissolves into static. Through that static, a voice cuts through, not your commanding officer, but a voice that resonates in the very marrow of your bones. It is the voice of Sanguinius, weeping. You feel his exhaustion in your own limbs. You feel the crushing weight of betrayal pressing down on your chest. You are no longer fighting for the Imperium of the 41st millennium. You are fighting for the survival of your father. Every ally around you becomes a traitor. The tactical markings of your battle brothers bleed away, replaced by the hated eye of Horus. They are trying to restrain you, calling your name, but their voices are distorted, mocking. To your broken mind, they are the enemy dragging you toward the War Master. You strike out, your transhuman strength unleashed not against the foes of mankind, but against your own kin. Your reality is a kaleidoscope of blood, gold, and the choking darkness of the vengeful spirit. And then, he appears. The enemy commander, the orc war boss, The Chaos Lord, it does not matter what they truly are. In your eyes, their form twists and expands, growing into a towering figure of dark majesty. The talon of Horus gleams in the dim light. Worldbreaker rests in his hand. You are looking into the face of the arch-traitor. The hatred that erupts from your soul is not your own. It is the unfiltered, primal fury of an avenging angel. This is the terrifying reality. The Space Marine is gone. What remains is an avatar of pure, unadulterated vengeance. The body's safety limiters are completely overridden by the brain. Muscles tear themselves apart with the force of their own contractions. Bones fracture under the sheer stress of the exertion, but the warrior feels absolutely no pain. Their nervous system is entirely hijacked by the psychic echo of the Primarch's final step. They are functionally immortal, sustained entirely by righteous hatred. If you are captivated by the dark, tragic psychology of the Adeptus Astartes, take a moment to solidify your place in our ranks. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Which Space Marine chapter's curse do you find the most horrifying? Your engagement helps us continue to decode the deepest mysteries of the Warhammer 40K universe. Now, let us return to the agony of the Blood Angels. Once the threshold is crossed, there is no medical or psychic cure. The Black Rage is not a sickness that can be purged with apothecarian science or librarian sorcery. It is a fundamental rewrite to the victim's reality. The cognitive pathways that form the Marine's identity, their name, their deeds, their friendships are completely incinerated. The only thought that remains, repeating in an endless, deafening loop, is the desperate need to kill Horus and save the Emperor. The danger posed by a Marine lost to the rage cannot be overstated. His standard Astartes is a precision instrument of war. A victim of the Black Rage is a weapon of mass destruction with no guidance system. They will tear through plasteel bulkheads with their bare hands to reach perceived enemies. They will ignore fatal wounds, missing limbs, eviscerated torsos, destroyed organs, continuing to slaughter until the body simply runs out of blood or is entirely vaporized. This is why the chapter's chaplains observe their battle brothers with the hawkish intensity of executioners. They are looking for other telltale signs, a momentary hesitation, a strange inflection in the voice. The 1,000-yard stare that looks past the present and into the nightmare of the heresy. When a warrior falls, they must be subdued quickly, often at the cost of the very brothers trying to restrain them. It is a tragic, desperate struggle to chain a demigod. Furthermore, the affliction possesses a terrifying psychic resonance. The Black Rage is infectious, not through biology, but through empathy. A Marine actively experiencing the trauma of Sanguinius acts as a psychic beacon. Their psychic screaming can drag other susceptible brothers over the edge with them. An entire squad can collapse into madness in a matter of seconds, their minds linking up in a shared, hallucinatory simulation of the Siege of Terror. It is a localized psychic catastrophic failure. Think of the tactical and intellectual loss. These are commanders who have waged war for centuries, strategists whose minds contain libraries of tactical doctrines, artisans who sculpt marble with the same hands that crush skulls. All of it is erased. The accumulated wisdom of a transhuman lifetime is overwritten by the screaming ghost of the past. The Imperium loses the master of war and gains a rabid attack dog whose only purpose is to die violently. It is a profound violation of the self. The warrior is denied even the dignity of an honorable death in their right mind. They are robbed of their agency, their final moments stolen by an ancient vendetta they had no part in. But the Imperium is nothing if not pragmatic, and the Blood Angels are nothing if not resourceful. They have found a way to weaponize this tragedy. They have created the Death Company. What does it mean to be trapped in a single second for the rest of your life? When the Black Rage takes hold, linear time ceases to exist for the victim. The continuous flow of past, present, and future collapses into a singularity of absolute horror. The Space Marine is no longer advancing through the 41st millennium. They are violently anchored to the 31st, condemned to inhabit the exact millisecond before Sanguinius' spine was snapped or his throat was crushed by the War Master. This phenomenon is a catastrophic, weaponized form of ego death. Everything that made the warrior an individual their proud name, their hard-won honors, the faces of their battle brothers is violently overwritten. The I is annihilated, replaced entirely by the he. They do not merely remember the Primarch's death. They become the dying Primarch. The warrior's consciousness is forcefully evicted from its own body, replaced by a ghost screaming in eternal agony. Consider the psychosomatic toll of this spiritual possession. The human brain, even one enhanced by the Emperor's genius, is not designed to process the physical sensations of a demigod's murder. As the Marine hallucinates the crushing blows of Horus's will break a mace, their own body reacts to the phantom trauma. Blood vessels burst in sympathetic harmony with the Primarch's shattered organs. They feel the phantom tear of a talon ripping through their armor, experiencing the cold void of the vengeful spirit pressing in on their lungs. It is a temporal prison of unparalleled cruelty. If a mortal mind experiences a trauma, time eventually offers a callous but effective distance. The memory fades, but for the victim of the Black Rage, the trauma is continuously refreshing itself. Every time they swing a chainsword, they are fighting the final, desperate parry against Horus. Every round they take on the battlefield is just another blow from the arch-traitor. They are dying the same horrific death, over and over again, in an endless loop. Why is this psychic echo so overwhelmingly potent? You must understand the nature of the Primarchs. They were not merely flesh and blood. They were creatures forged from the raw stuff of the war, encased in genetic masterpieces. Sanguinius was a being of profound psychic resonance, perhaps second only to Magnus the Red in his latent potential. His death was not just a physical termination, it was a psychic detonation. In the Imperium, where emotion and memory are physical forces, Sanguinius' agony carved a permanent scar. The warp does not adhere to the rules of linear time. That moment of ultimate betrayal and despair is perfectly preserved, suspended like an insect in amber within the Sea of Souls. The Blood Angel's gene seed acts as a direct tether to that specific warp anomaly. When a Marine falls to the Rage, they are essentially being pulled into that anomalous gravity well. What makes this even more tragic is the burden of foresight. Sanguinius knew he was going to die. He possessed the gift of prophecy, and he walked into the trap on the vengeful spirit with his eyes wide open, accepting his fate for the survival of the Imperium. But the Astartes infected by the Black Rage do not inherit this noble acceptance. They only inherit the raw, unfiltered terror and the excruciating pain of the execution itself. They are robbed of the Primarch's heroic resolve, left only with the chaotic nightmare of his slaughter. This is why they cannot be reasoned with, and why they cannot be saved. You cannot negotiate with a man who is actively burning in the fires of a 10,000-year-old memory. You can only give him a weapon, point him at the enemy, and grant him the terrible mercy of a violent end. Let us address a common misconception that plagues even the most educated scholars of the Inquisition. The Red Thirst and the Black Rage are often spoken of in the same terrified breath, treated as synonymous symptoms of a corrupted gene line. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. While they are twin shadows haunting the sons of Sanguinius, their natures are entirely distinct. One is a flaw of the flesh, the other is a devastation of the soul. The Red Thirst is a biological imperative. It is a dark, vampiric craving for blood that lurks beneath their noble exterior. When unleashed, it pushes their physiology to terrifying extremes, turning them into ravenous predators in close quarters combat. It is a source of immense shape, a secret fiercely guarded from the rest of the Imperium. But fundamentally, it is a physical hunger. It can be fought. It can be satiated. With immense willpower and ritualistic discipline, it can be controlled. The Black Rage, as we have thoroughly decoded, offers no such reprieve. It is not a biological hunger. It is a spiritual usurpation. When a battle brother succumbs to the red thirst, he still retains his identity. He knows he is a space marine, albeit one reduced to a starving beast. But when the Black Rage takes him, that identity is completely obliterated. The beast is replaced by the agonizing echo of the dying Primarch. Consider the tragic, almost cruel irony of this dynamic. A blood angel can spend 500 years perfectly mastering the red thirst. They can deny their vampiric urges, creating a flawless facade of angelic perfection and artistic grace. Yet, all that ironclad discipline is entirely useless against the onset of the Black Rage. You cannot discipline away a psychic shockwave permanently etched into your genetic code. The control they fight so desperately to maintain is, ultimately, an illusion. There is, of course, one terrifying anomaly in Imperial records: Mephiston, the Lord of Death. He is the only known entity to have fully succumbed to the Black Rage and clawed his way back to sanity, resurrected into something fundamentally different. But do not mistake his survival for hope. He is a grim, singular exception that proves the rule. For the tens of thousands of Astartes within the sanguinary brotherhood, there is no conquering the rage. This distinction between the two curses is vital to understanding the tragedy of their existence. The red thirst is a monstrous sin they are constantly tempted to commit. The Black Rage is a terminal punishment they are forced to endure. One turns them into predators of the night, while the other traps them permanently in a temporal nightmare. And when that nightmare inevitably takes over, the chapter has a specialized, horrifying protocol waiting. On the eve of any major engagement, a heavy, suffocating silence falls over the strike cruisers of the Blood Angels. The chaplains, armored in black and wielding their Crozius Arcanum, walk the ranks of their brothers. They intone the Mora Patris, the Mass of Doom, their voices echoing through the vaulted, incense-choked halls. They are watching for the tremors. They are searching the eyes of the warriors for that fatal, distant stare that means the shadow of the vengeful spirit has finally descended. When the Black Rage claims a brother, the chapter does not offer them rest, nor do they offer them a quiet execution. Instead, they prepare a ritual of profound, tragic pragmatism. The fallen warrior is forcefully restrained, and their glorious crimson ceramite is stripped away or painted over in the deepest, light-consuming black. Across the armor, artisans paint striking red saltires crosses of blood that symbolize the agonizing wounds inflicted upon Sanguinius during his final step. Understand the grim truth of this transformation. The Death Company is not an elite military vanguard. It is a mobilized funeral procession, armed to the teeth and sent out to die. The men wearing that black armor are officially considered casualties of war before they ever fire a single bolt round. They have been struck from the chapter's rolls. The armor they wear is effectively a coffin, and the battle they are about to fight is nothing more than a highly kinetic, spectacularly violent burial rite. Imagine the sheer horror of their deployment. As the battle lines are drawn, the Death Company is kept sealed within heavy assault transports or specialized drop pods. Inside those dark, cramped holes, the air is thick with the metallic stench of blood and the deafening roar of transhuman scream. They are thrashing against magnetic restraints, their minds actively burning in the fires of the 31st millennium, desperate to tear Horus limb from limb. When the ramp finally drops, it is not a tactical deployment. It is the opening of a cage. The black-clad warriors erupt into the enemy lines like a localized cataclysm. They do not use cover. They do not employ the intricate squad-level tactics they spent centuries mastering. They hurl themselves directly into the teeth of the enemy's heaviest firepower, driven by a hysterical strength that pushes their hyper-engineered physiology past the point of catastrophic biological failure. It is here that we witness the ultimate, callous cruelty of the Imperium of man. In any other era, is society observing a soldier suffering such a profound, irreversible psychological collapse would offer pity. They would be confined, studied, or mercifully euthanized. But the Imperium is a grinding machine of war that wastes absolutely nothing, not even madness. They have looked at a horrific genetic tragedy and simply figured out how to aim it at the enemies of mankind. And the enemies of mankind are absolutely terrified of them. How do you fight a warrior who does not register the loss of an arm? How do you break the morale of a soldier who firmly believes he is already dead? The Death Company will wade through plasma fire and artillery bombardments, their bodies torn to bloody ribbons, just to sink their chain swords into the flesh of a creature they perceive to be a traitor. It is a spectacle of inspiring devastation. Yet, the true tragedy does not lie in the slaughter itself, but in the agonizing silence that follows. Battles eventually end. The enemy is broken. The smoke clears, and the objective is secure. For the surviving Blood Angels, there's a moment to breathe, to tend to the wounded, to claim victory. But for the survivors of the Death Company, there is no victory. There is only the lingering nightmare, and the grim approach of the executioners who must now clean up the aftermath. Consider the immense psychological weight placed upon the chaplains of the Blood Angels. In most Adeptus Astartes chapters, a chaplain is a spiritual guide, a roaring voice of zealotry that inspires battle brothers to acts of supreme heroism. But for the sons of Sanguinius, their role is far more sinister. They are the wardens of a doomed asylum. They must maintain their own flawless discipline while constantly searching the faces of their closest friends for the first subtle cracks of inevitable madness. The true horror of their duty reveals itself in the silent, ashtuk aftermath of a victorious campaign. What happens to the Death Company warriors who survive the slaughter? They cannot be reintegrated. They cannot be sedated or cured. They remain violently trapped in the psychic echo of the vengeful spirit, a danger to everyone around them. It falls to the chaplains to deliver the final, tragic mercy. They must walk among the black-armored survivors and systematically execute their own brothers. Above all these grim executioners stands one figure, Astrith the Grim, the High Chaplain of the Blood Angels. He bears the chilling title of the Redeemer of the Lost. Astrith possesses a dark, unique mutation. He can psychically sense the black rage from across the galaxy. Whenever the curse manifests with an intensity that threatens an entire successor chapter, Astrith travels there. He is the ultimate angel of death, arriving not to slay the alien or the heretic, but to cull his own bloodline. Picture the arrival of the Redeemer. He steps onto a blood-soaked battlefield, wielding the Executioner's Axe, a relic weapon forged specifically for this sorrowful task. He approaches a warrior who has spent centuries defending humanity, a hero now reduced to a screaming, thrashing beast trapped in a 10,000-year-old nightmare. Astrith does not strike with malice. He strikes with a profound, agonizing compassion. With a single, heavy blow, he severs the brothers' connection to Sanguinius's unending pain. This is the ultimate and song sacrifice of the Blood Angels. The tragedy is not merely that they must die fighting an ancient ghost. The true devastation belongs to the living to men like Astrith and the chaplains who must look into the eyes of their family, see the face of the arch-traitor reflected back at them, and swing the axe. They bear the sin of kinslaying so that the chapter might retain its fragile, fleeting nobility for just one more day. So, what is the true legacy of the Blood Angels? They are not merely the golden, shining paragons the Imperium blindly believes them to be. Their true nobility lies not in their perfection, but in their unrelenting, agonizing endurance. They are a brotherhood defined by an unrewarded, unseen sacrifice. Every breath they take, every battle they win, is fought in the shadow of an inevitable, horrifying psychological collapse. They fight knowing their ultimate reward for centuries of service is not peace, but a descent into ancestral madness and the executioner's X. In the grim darkness of the far future, there are no happy endings, even for the Emperor's most beloved angels. The tragedy of the Black Rage forces Astartes a chilling, philosophical question. Is it better to die as a fragile mortal man, oblivious to the cosmic horrors of the galaxy, or to live as an immortal demigod, only to be entirely consumed by the screaming memories of a murdered father? The sons of Sanguinius have made their choice. They bear the curse, they wear the black armor, and they die in madness so that humanity might survive another day. If you have survived this descent into the darkest corners of the Blood Angel psyche, stand with us in the shadows of the Imperium. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me, would you accept the transhuman gifts of the Astartes if it meant inevitably inheriting the Black Rage? We will return soon to uncover more horrifying truths of the 41st millennium. Until then, remember, the Emperor protects, but even angels must fall.